Anyways, so the episode opens. We're going way back, guys. Hi, I'm Grady.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Charisse.
And welcome to Highlights, a show where we recap a reality competition show, usually a drag one, like it's sports, even though it's not. We are currently covering the 4th season of Dragula and all of its spooky glory. There's a lot to break down. Previously on Dragula. Last week's episode was Killer Clowns, in which the competitors were tasked with creating clown looks to be served in a floor show performance, and they had no stipulations other than it had to be a clown look. The cinematic with the puppets, my favorite so far of the season. I thought it was genius.
Oh my God, I loved it. I loved the puppets of the Boulet brothers. I love the puppets of the competitors. I love the regular puppets. Oh my God, I love the whole thing. It was fantastic.
I love anything with puppets, whether it's a Muppet or a puppet, anything hanging from strings or made of felt, I'm there.
Loved it. I thought it was actually really creepy and silly.
Their angry faces.
Yeah, they're angry little mouths. Angry little drag mouths. Love it. They were also informed that they would have to compete in a go-kart extermination.
Super Mario Kart, but drag.
Yeah, exactly. It was really weird. They had a Fright feat challenge to determine who got the keys to the go-karts and got to assign them. The Fright feat, of course, being a dunk take that the Boulets rented, and then they rented Mary Cherry to heckle them while they threw the balls at each other.
The dunk take was fantastic. I could have done without Mary Cherry.
I would have been happier if they dunked Mary Cherry, but as she said, there was a weight limit. I don't know if she was just dragging herself or if that was the actual reason they didn't actually dunk her.
I'm not sure. Maybe it was because, I don't know. I mean, she was dressed as like the Omicron variant. So maybe there was a health concern.
So fitting.
But Mary Cherry began reading all of the contestants as they did the Fright feat challenge, or at least that's what she thought she was doing. And she seemed to be the only person in the alley who believed it.
There was not a book to be read. The library was closed. Her reads were awful.
It was really bad.
Dahli proved victorious and was able to assign all of the keys, which they did so randomly, but Hoso Terra Toma was not pleased to apparently get the weakest of the vehicles.
I loved the way they did this. I loved the way that Dahli did it. I appreciate it so much. Fair all the way around. Hoso was totally bent out of shape about it.
I love how Hoso immediately leaned into it being because she was a Asian twin bottom. Nothing to do with the fact that Dahli literally just said, well, let's just do it as it is, as we walked in, and we'll just assign it as is. Like, Dahli does everything very diplomatically, which I really appreciate. Right. And I feel like Hoso is always looking for something to be a victim about, and it's really, really irritating. Like, there's so many parts of her personality that have revealed itself that I'm just not a fan of.
So everybody then explains what their concepts are going to be for their clown look. And I have to say, out of all of them, I was the most concerned for Sigourney. Because everybody else had like a clear direction they were going into, you know, and listed all these inspirations and, you know, all these visions they were having. And then Sigourney was like, so my vision is like clown, like classic clown, you know, a clown.
I'm gonna do something real different and do like a sexy clown. Yeah. You know, unlike anything I've done so far on the show. It's gonna be mind-blowing, you guys.
Yeah.
I actually threw something at my TV this time. Didn't break it, but I did throw something.
It's really frustrating. But did it hurt her? Let's talk about our judges, shall we? Starting with the Boulets.
I don't even remember what they looked like.
They looked good.
I liked their looks. They inverted their traditional style, which I like when they do. So instead of a black outfit and white hair, they wore a white outfit with black hair. It was revolutionary. And I ate it up, actually. I thought they served it really well.
Yeah, it was like the simplicity of it, but also the like the silhouette and the construction of like the outfit itself. I really liked it. It looked really good.
Yeah.
It was much better than the cape/crown that we got the episode before.
Yeah. So our guest judges this week were Bob the Drag Queen and Harvey
Guillermo.
I thought they were really good judges.
Yeah, they were really they gave a lot of feedback. They were really engaged and involved. I mean, we could say that of like most guest judges of this show. They're very, very engaging and very involved in the floor show and giving feedback. But I felt like they, especially Bob, spoke from a lot of experience, and especially on a competition show such as this one, I think did their best to give them really good advice and solid advice from that experience.
So freaking excited to see Bob the Drag Queen out of the RuPaul box. Oh my gosh. Couldn't be more excited. And the guest judges this season, and generally in general on Dragula, have really good critiques for the competitors.
Okie doke. Let's move on to Hoso Terra Toma.
So initially I thought it was going to be a look where I was like, oh, I hate that I really, really like this because I don't like Hoso Terra Toma anymore. But okay, so the concept of it was really cool. Like I liked the idea of like the different faces and everything. Like their concept sketches that they were showing in the workroom were really, really cool.
Right.
But I actually kind of felt like this is something they under-delivered. So I don't know if that means that like Hoso really slipped this episode, or if they just got really full of themselves and kind of thought maybe I can just coast through this and not pay as much attention to detail. Whatever the reason is, it was not their worst look, but it wasn't their best look either.
I definitely feel like you hit the nail on the head. I feel as if Hoso Terra Toma was maybe a little too full of themselves this week. And perhaps thought that they didn't have to do anything because they have 2 wins. They have this in the bag. They're so on brand. It's unreal. Rah, rah, rah. Everyone
super arrogant. Yeah.
Super arrogant. Can do no wrong.
Which is their brand.
What did we think about Sigourney's killer clown look?
It was very Harley Quinn. I didn't get a story. I didn't get like what she was doing other than just a look, and the look itself wasn't very killer clown. Like she had the thing with the balloons, and then my understanding was she only started stabbing them because she was tripping all over them and couldn't figure out what to do with them. So that wasn't even part of her original act. She just made a snap judgment, was like, I'm just gonna start stabbing them. And the puppet, like I think I saw the puppet like once.
She did pick up some of the notes. I mean, in some of the past seasons, they have clocked certain competitors for having a dirty dress and then having clean tights, or having a dirty costume and then having clean shoes. So I appreciate that she rubbed parts of her costume on the floor. She is picking up a certain amount of, this is what we're asking for. But yes, her performance with the balloons, like you said, if they hadn't have gotten caught on her shoe and tripped her up and made her so angry that she looked like a killer clown on stage, I don't think she would have made it through this floor show.
Yeah.
It was a gone wrong, gone right in the right situation kind of moment for her.
Yeah, because what was her original plan? She was like, I'll be pretty with the balloons, but also pretty with the balloons over there.
Just gonna walk around with these balloons.
No, for sure. You wonder what her performance was gonna be like with the killer clown thing, because there wasn't really like, if she was just gonna be sexy on stage again. Pass.
Let's move on to Dahli.
What I've always appreciated about Dahli, and I've said this on previous episodes of Highlight, is their ability to bring a fully realized character to life on stage. And they definitely did that with this this like candy, I think called him Sweet Tooth was the name of the character. It was really, really cool. Like the character itself was really, really cool. They took the the critique to slow down and like really work through the movements on stage, and really tell that story with the props that they had, and not just like do everything all at once and then go have nowhere to go. What I didn't like was it's the same makeup, the same face that we have seen since Nosferatu. And I understand being true to your image and your drag, but where other queens consistently get read for doing the same thing over and over again and not showing enough versatility in that, Dahli is like consistently praised for it. And it's like at this point it's a clear bias. And it's really, really frustrating as a viewer watching the judging skew that way so deliberately, because they didn't mention it at all. They didn't say anything about like, well, you've worn this look many, many, many times. Like it's worked out for you this time, but you've worn this face multiple times. And I feel like multiple times in this season specifically, other contestants have been read for doing that.
Not that they don't deserve it if they win, like they're very, very talented, but I just feel like at this point, like, you know, they were early out on their original season. The Boulets brought them back for Resurrection after already joking they would return them to the competition somehow, and you know, Dahli didn't win Resurrection. They were like, that's okay, why don't you just come back anyway? That was the prize for the winner, but you know what, whatever, she got some money too, you didn't, just come over. It's just weird. And to bring them in, like not even make them do every single challenge, and then kind of give them some passes on some things, and now here we are at the end. I don't know, it's just making me feel a little type of way. Let's talk about Saint went as a mime, which I kind of like the concept.
Yeah, I didn't even hate the look. I thought the look was really interesting. Again, the performance probably could have been a little bit more. They still have this like reserved feeling, but I think because they chose to go with a character that was performance based, it forced them to break out of that a little bit. So I got less of that lack of performance, which is really the only thing that's been holding them back, is their floor show performances, because their looks are always like stunning and like really, really good.
I would have to agree. I really liked the look that Saint brought. I definitely appreciated Bob's critique as far as like the overalls kind of cut off the top of the look. Yes, Saint brought more performance to the table, and I appreciate that. I feel as if Saint needs to practice in a room, a large room in front of some mirrors, and see what the difference is as far as what we see as an audience and what Saint is actually doing. And I feel as if someone mirrored it back to them, it might be a little bit more evident that their movements aren't quite large enough for where they are.
We did have a really interesting Cauldron discussion this episode.
Yes, let's go to the Cauldron.
Hoso opened her mouth and then firmly stuck her foot in it again, as
that's right,
as they typically tend to do in the Cauldron. I forget, because it was the question of who do you think is going to make it to the top 3 of the 4 of us sitting here, and of course she completely disregarded Sigourney sitting right there to her face, and then tried to explain to Sigourney why she wasn't fit to be in the top 3.
Well, why all drag is valid except for Sigourney's every single week.
Saint did say that she personally thought that it would be her, Sigourney, and Dahli.
That's true.
And then Dahli just gave them the diplomatic answer of based on scores.
So I said it when we were watching it, and I definitely remember the Cauldron from the episode, like without even like anything else. The Cauldron was what I remember. So every single week, someone will tell Sigourney that she's not enough. So what people tell regular drag performers is that they're not man enough, or that they're not woman enough, or that they're not whatever enough, right? But everybody just tells Sigourney that she's not enough. She's never going to be a man. She's never going to be this. She's cis, or she's AFAB, excuse me, right?
Yeah.
So because she's an AFAB queen, she is lesser than, and they tell her that every single week. Every single week.
Okay, so it's time for them to play Mario Kart in the park, much to the confusion of people who are just strolling, enjoying their day in the park. When they have 4 clowns racing through the park in various vehicles with balloons tied to them like Mario Kart, but I'm like, the balloons didn't do anything either. It's weird. Also, while they're racing through the park, they have to overcome a bunch of hurdles that are caused by past dead competitors who claw their way out of the grave as clowns for some reason to give them one final scare. Did you clock everybody who was there? Because the people that returned were Formaldehyde, Astrid Aurelia, Coco Kane, and Bitter Betty.
Coco looked fantastic.
Coco stole the show. Coco was like, this is my chance for All-Stars. Boom.
That like tiny waist, big old boobies.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
I
for
was
sure.
living.
Yeah. She was like, what? I'm getting airtime. Yeah.
Right?
Give me those flags. Yeah.
Bitter Betty was super mad about not being able to be the girl that starts the race with her handkerchief.
She can stay petty Betty.
And then I believe in the extermination, was it Dahli crossed first, correct?
I believe so. I believe Dahli had the fastest cart.
Yeah. And then I believe it was Sigourney, and then Saint, and then Hoso barely crossing the finish line as her vehicle ran out of juice.
Poetic justice.
Yeah.
For sure.
Now here's the thing that I didn't like about this episode. It ends in a cliffhanger, and we don't actually know who gets exterminated. I love the end so much because it was really scary. And I actually felt a lot of tension. I was like, who's going to get this chop? And imagine my dismay when we didn't find out who of the 2 puppets that were chosen, who died. Who made it?
I was gobsmacked at the 2 puppets chosen. I don't know if it's just me, but like the competitors in this season just don't seem to have that same edge that the other 3 seasons did. It's just been a really weird season.
No, for sure. It absolutely has been a weird season. The exterminations have been weird.
What if they cut both? They just axe both of them.
See, I'm into it, but also then I'm like, is Sigourney going to take down Dahli in a floor show?
Oh, absolutely not.
There's no way. Okay, it's time for top tweets. Okay, so the scoreboard. Everybody was up for extermination, right? Which puts everybody at 2 times in the extermination, except for Sigourney. It was her 4th time. And it appears she survived it. So that's pretty awesome. For challenge wins, Dahli has taken a 2nd win and is now pulled ahead with Hoso, but it looks like Hoso might be on the way out. So does that make Dahli the current front runner? I will say, based on the stats, I don't see an outcome where Dahli doesn't win this competition at this point. You know?
Yeah, it does seem to have been crafted in such a way that all roads lead to Dahli.
The overt favoritism.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the 2016 election, and I'm like listening to the results, and I'm like, can Jade still take a couple states or something? You know, And I'm watching the reporters just go, I don't see a path for her. And I'm like, oh. I love that Jade's not even in the competition anymore, but the way I just presented it, we're like the only options were Jade or Dahli. Anyways. But that's how things shape up going into the Last Supper. So next week, we're not actually going to see them compete for anything. It's just going to be a reunion with all of the dead queens. How are they going to bring them back? I don't know. They're all dead. Anyways, for highlights next week, we will break down the Last Supper, all of the drama that comes with it, and share our predictions for the grand finale. If you want to check out more of our coverage this season, you can do that right here on the PG Media channel. We've covered every episode of the season so far, and also of another reality program you might enjoy. Wink, wink. You can also follow PG Media on Instagram and Twitter. And as always,
thank you for watching highlights.
And we'll see you next time.